Right. Good afternoon, everyone. It's Angie Atkinson, and I'm here with the lovely and talented Lise Colucci. Lise, welcome back.
Thank you.
My pleasure. Always happy to have you with me. So, for those of you who don't know, Lise is one of my fellow coaches. She is basically the partner over at queenbeing.com. She has created this amazing group program that we have there, group coaching, and is also a coach like me, doing narcissistic abuse recovery coaching and counseling. You will love her if you don't know her already. So stick around. Let's get going. As we wait for our chat to pop up, I will remind you to number one, watch for the reminders from Simmering in our chat. She's one of our mod squatters. She will help you to know how to get in touch with us, how to be here for each session that we do like this, and also Lisa's information, how to get to her channel and how to be made aware of live streams as she does them herself. Hello, Connor, and welcome. So today we are going to talk about the reasons why we don't leave the narcissist. It's so easy for us to tell people, just leave already. And then people tell us, they say stuff like, well, why, if it's so bad, why don't you just leave? Like, it's so easy, right? It's not that easy. We all know. So, Lisa, what are some of the reasons that you can think of that we don't leave the narcissist?
Well, financial.
Of course.
That's a big one. In the time you've invested into the relationship or the marriage or the whatever it is, feeling like you've put in basically emotional finances. You've put in a lot of emotional time and energy into building something, and it feels like a huge loss to step away. Coercion. The narcissist hoovering you right when you're on the brink of leaving, and they coerce you to come back. Cognitive dissonance. We know we should leave. We know the situation's bad, but we can also tolerate it. And I don't know what we think. Either it can get better or it won't get better, but I can tolerate this. Or, well, at least I know what's going on. What else?
Well, the trauma bonding of it all.
Trauma bonding, right.
Right.
Where
you're chemically addicted.
Your brain is addicted. Your body is addicted.
You have kids. Did you say that one yet?
You have kids. Yes. Having children is a big one. Love addiction. Well, yeah. There's a few.
Right. Yeah. And then just codependency in general.
Codependency.
Right.
Caretaking. Yeah.
Yeah. And I remember a lot of times we see people who, I personally, I struggled with how am I going to take care of the kid by myself? I had one child at the time. How will I handle paying for daycare? Who will help me if something goes wrong in my life? Narcissists do this thing where they isolate you, right? And so you look around, you have no one left, and you think, oh, and then you either have to end up basically counting on someone else who isn't countable, which I mean dependable,
right.
or you end up like a lot of us go. It was again another thing I did. The wolf you know is better than the one you don't, and that's not always true, but at least and so that's. And I think in my mind, Jack says your chair looks like royalty. It sure does. It's cute. Anyway, I love it. Anyway, sorry. That was a good thing. Okay. I wish I had gotten that. I might do that later. We'll move on. Okay. It needs to be one of those gifts, It was cute. Okay. I'm sorry.
Empathy. Right. There's another one. Empathy we have. That's another one that makes it really hard to leave. Aging narcissistic parents, someone put in chat. That's another reason.
Yes. Oh my gosh. That's a big one. I know one of our moderators, I don't know if she's here right now, but one of our mod squatters dealt with that, still deals with that, but now has pulled herself out a little bit. But it's it's an ongoing struggle, right? And then there's the intermittent reinforcement of it all. Can we talk about that?
Oh, heck yeah.
Okay. Okay. Because what you end up with is you have someone who treats you like dog poo most days. But then, depending on how long you've been with them, if it's earlier in the relationship, maybe it's like once a week, once a month. But as time goes on, it becomes the norm. But you're always searching for that initial high, as they say, meaning that initial love bombing, the idealization phase, who you believe in your mind until you get educated that that's the real person and that you're just messing everything up, right? And you're always chasing that person, that initial high, right? And so what I've noticed is a lot of times narcissists, when they really feel that you're about to leave and they don't want you to leave, they'll flip and they'll start love bombing again. And this could be even in intermittent places. It might be like once or twice a day or once or twice a week, whereas before it was maybe once or twice a year. Mm-hmm. Suddenly they'll start being nicer and you'll go, oh, it's not that bad. Maybe I should stay. Mm-hmm. Right? Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I was going to say another thing is dependency on the narcissist. A lot of people are groomed into learned helplessness.
Mm-hmm. That's right. Talk on it. Speak on it.
The narcissist will do things that you find difficult to do, or you can't do, or you physically can't do, or you financially can't do. And they will take care of you in a certain way to get those needs met so that you never learn to do those things for yourself, or you can't do them for yourself. And then they use that as a way to hold you there.
Yes, that's a huge one. Yes. Another one, they act like, so when you first met them, again, back to the love bombing, right? But they spent a lot of time listening to you during that time, often. And they want to know like all your secrets and all your deep, dark truths and blah, blah, blah. So then they start to use those things against you. And when, let's just say you were an artist when you met. Now you're a former artist because the narcissist is completely taking your identity, right? But then maybe they think, this one's acting kind of strange. I think I'm going to have to give them a little bit of attention so they don't leave, because they need you, of course, for supply. And so they go, you know what, honey, I bought you a new like art thing, like an easel and some paints and some canvas. So, I'd really love to see you paint something again. Oh my gosh, if you have been under the thumb of the narcissist for the past 20 years, that's going to feel like a freaking breakthrough, right? And so they do things like that because they've spent so much time in the beginning studying you, trying to figure out who you are, trying to be you and take your identity and all that. But that's another day. All right, Lisa, what do you think?
Right. Yeah. Then the thing that is the thing you love becomes the thing they control.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Ugh. And then you're trapped in it because you can't do the thing you love anymore without that reinforcement from them.
Yeah.
It's a mind game. Mm-hmm.
It's how one of many ways they create that codependent, you literally feel like you need them, right?
You do. You literally feel like you need them. It's dependency more than codependency, I think, in that case, because they are creating such scarcity and they're teaching you and grooming you to believe you can't do the thing on your own.
Right. And another thing I think that happens, and this happens more often than a lot of us would like to admit, is that they never, well, some of them will in fact leave when you tell them to leave, and that's very rare. But there are some who would never ever. They always think that they own you. Like, they always think that you're part of them. So even if they've been gone 10 years, they've got you in their back pocket.
Yep.
And so a lot of us feel very trapped by that. And we feel that we can't move forward. We can't move on. Is that a fair?
Yeah. Sometimes the narcissist is such a collapsed type of narcissist that they have no one and nothing. And they're just a horrible wretch that sits on the couch or lays in the bed or doesn't do anything. And you would think logically, right? Ooh, yuck, walk away. But no, the empathy comes in. They've got you groomed to caretake them. They've got you groomed to know that you're the only person in their life. And that pulls on your heartstrings as well as your codependency and keeps you stuck.
Genuinely, yeah. And that's the worst thing, I think, because when you think about, essentially they're taking advantage of who you are as a person.
Exactly.
Like, I've got a client a former client who actually, she got lucky. She married a man right out of high school who was amazing, who took very good care of her, and she took very good care of him. Perfect marriage for like 30 years. And then he passed away. And then she dated, after an appropriate mourning period, she dated the man's former his best friend, who had also lost his wife. That didn't work out well. But then right after that, and then I won't even go into all that, but then right after that, she ended up marrying a different man who she had dated for a while, blah, blah, blah. Anyway, long story short, she was about to leave him and divorce him. And then he got really, really sick. And so she ended up staying another like 5 years and taking care of him physically. And then she divorced him. And she's still going to end up with nothing in the end from, for her efforts. It's just, She just did it to be a nice person.
That is actually one reason I stayed, was that getting having a diagnosis that made it so that to leave at that point would have been
Almost cruel,
almost
appearance
cruel.
wise.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
so what do you do? And
Right.
in the meantime, you don't just, the thing, what happens with you sometimes, or at least with me, is you don't just keep it in the back of your, like, it's not, you're not back burnering the exit. What I
Yeah.
was doing was, okay, reset.
Hmm.
This is a reset. This person will change from this life altering experience. This person will have a revelation during this life. And what you witness, if you're watching, is they don't. They
Right.
get worse. They get
And,
worse. They get more selfish and more self-directed and horrible.
and
So,
have better excuses, right?
yeah, better excuses. And
Yeah.
now they have a medical excuse. And now, yeah.
And now you're the bad person if you do leave, or if you
Yep.
even consider leaving.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we could go on and on with this stuff, right? I mean, there's with different reasons. Like there are some narcissists who will question you to death, right? They'll be
Mhm.
like, well, where are you going to go? What are you going to do? Why would you leave me? What have I done? But then they have an answer for every single thing that makes you doubt yourself.
Yep.
But because of course they do, because they've been learning for the last however many years how to keep you in your place, right? And
Exactly. In your place. That's the point. Mhm.
exactly. And then of course we talked about the trauma bonding thing and you know, all of this comes down to, in some ways, when you tell them you're leaving, they have reasons for not, they tell you why not, why you
Right.
shouldn't. You can't handle it. They gaslight you into doubting yourself. You
No
won't
one will
be able
love
to
you
make
like
it.
I love you. And you're thinking,
Hmm.
if you're
Thank
able to
goodness.
think outside it, you're like, yeah. But
That's the whole point,
that's the point.
right?
Well,
Yeah.
another reason people don't leave, I think, is shame.
Oh, yes. Yes. And
Yeah.
this is back into, they begin very early to condition you,
Right.
and they'll say something. I told you at the beginning of our relationship that so and so, my ex, did all these things to me, and now you're doing these things to me. And
Mhm.
you're like, well, of course I am. You're an abuser, right? But they don't see that. They just see
Yeah.
that you have now become the bad person that they were previously with. And so when you hear that, the smear campaign's on, right?
Oh, yeah. Well,
Yeah,
yeah. And
yeah.
then that brings me to the next thing I was thinking, which is people don't leave often because of what others will think. They may be with a covert narcissist who's altruistic and communal,
Yes.
and that communal narcissist has the whole community on their side because
Hmm.
in public they're shiny and charming, and if you leave you are the wicked person who broke the heart of this wonderful human being, and
Exactly.
you not only you lose your relationship, you lose your community and your reputation. And
Yes.
yeah, and people get really scared in those situations. I see that a lot.
I see the same. I actually am working with someone right now who's going through this process, and
Mhm.
that stopped her for a long time.
Yeah,
And
because the smear doesn't look like a smear, it looks like victim.
exactly. Okay, listen. This happened in every situation I've ever. Any narcissist, I think, two official narcissists I've gone no contact with. Um, my parent and my ex husband, and in both of those cases, I knew it was coming with the ex husband. I don't know how I knew. I just knew because I didn't know about narcissism at the time, but I knew that he was going to start something. I didn't call it a smear at the time. I called it a sob story. I
Hmm.
knew he would have a sob story that he would go tell everybody, and that's how he would get his next wife. I knew it, and it happened.
Yep, yep.
you know, and you see this, and so whatever the label is, whether it's smear campaign or sob story, they're walking around telling people bad things about you, and you somehow usually instinctively have an idea this is going to happen,
Oh
and so
yeah.
that might be another reason you don't leave. You need to keep your reputation intact, but all of it comes down to, and this is again what you were saying about the community, the local community, or the people that they know that and it, I think if possible, it's ideal to move away from that community if you leave, but
Oh
it's
yeah.
not always an option, right?
Hmm.
I was able to sort of move away from it. I did move away from where we lived, but that wasn't our community at the time because we were kind of new there, so it's a whole other story. But same thing with my parent. I was told by other people that she was telling people I was crazy, and I was mentally ill. I needed help, all this stuff, and she was even putting it in newsletters. It was ridiculous, but my audience happened to be a little bigger than hers, so that was fine. Um, anyway, yeah. So I think that what it comes down to is there's a lot of reasons, right? I mean, But then you have to ask yourself, when is, do you have any more reasons before we move on? I'm sorry.
Oh my gosh, I mean, I feel like for every person,
right,
there is a story, and there's
mm-hmm.
legitimate, what feels like legitimate reasons.
Right.
And they are legitimate in the moment until someone's
Sure.
able to get themselves through it.
Right. And I would never push anyone to do anything they were
No.
uncomfortable doing unless it was leaving a physical abuser. But even some of these, and even then I'd still be like, I can't control you. You know what I'm saying? I can only do whatever you're willing to do unless I'm going to kidnap you. And I've thought about that a few times, but I don't like prison. So I wouldn't know. I just don't think I do. But anyway, I think my point is ultimately we have to decide we need to leave if we do. And then we have to take the action. It's a whole process. And it's for someone like a narcissist, especially when you do take care of them or you do help them hide things. And I mean just in general, their personality, you become their emotional dumpster. Mm-hmm. But sometimes worse than that, right? They need you, they have conditioned you, they don't want to have to start all over again, even if they are having an affair or doing something else. They still want you to be there, right? So if you do leave against their will, they're going to do whatever they can to stop you. And if they can't stop you, they're going to do whatever they can to suck you back in the Hoover, right? Mm-hmm. This is I think they say on average, it takes 7 tries to leave and stay gone, you know? Mm-hmm. And so now some people do it on the first shot. Some people have to come back and go back and come back, you know? What about you, Lise? Did you have to go back? I mean, did you leave on the first shot or did you have to try again?
It was sort of yes and no. Like first shot, meaning it took a few months.
Yeah.
But that's sort of one shot. But it's a hard one to answer because they discard within the relationship sometimes and you stay. And so it's hard to know, like, was that a thing or was that not a thing or what was that? And there's also something I was thinking is that we often make excuses for the behavior to justify the behavior so that we can normalize it in our head and stick in it. And you know what I'm saying? Like we'll have people gaslighting, say someone's gaslighting you and they're projecting and there's all this, they argue in a way that is really toxic and then they're nice otherwise. Right. And so we will justify in our head, well, that's just this or that's just that, or they had a hard childhood or they had this or they had that. And we'll make excuses in our head that are legitimate. They actually could be the legitimate reason, but that's not a reason to be a toxic manipulator.
Hello.
Right? But we all put it in our head, and when we're going through it, it's like suddenly we've justified it, we've understood it, we've classified it, and so we can deal with it. And sometimes that's what keeps us there is our own intelligence and our own awareness being, you know what I'm saying? Like,
I really do.
and we're good fixers and we're good, like we're loyal people and so sometimes it's, in other words, reflecting back to oneself. Why am I tolerating this? Is this a toxic behavior? And what are the patterns that are going on? And what is the person doing about these patterns? Are they taking any accountability? And it takes sometimes talking through it to be able to get out.
It really does. And I think that's why it helps when people do, to join a support group or a small group coaching thing, or even have one-on-one coaching, because it offers you a different perspective. And it's, okay, I'm gonna talk about Fly Lady again. I've talked about her a lot of times, but she's really, do you know her? Okay. She is really the original OG influencer, in my opinion.
Oh, heck yeah.
Okay. Mm-hmm. And I mean, I found her, what year was that kid born? 2003. I found her in 2003. Okay. Yeah. So okay. Anyway, she always said, even if you're not doing this stuff that I'm sending you, read it, because you're fly watching yourself, which I think she meant brainwashing yourself. But in reality, you're basically fighting conditioning from outside toxic people by showing up here, even if you're not ready to leave yet, by watching the videos, reading the articles, all the things, joining the groups, reading what other people are doing. It inspires you. And it also helps to change the way you think, because so up to this point, maybe you've been thinking, I deserve it. I'm a bad person. I'm not doing what I'm supposed to be doing, because that's what the narcissist wants you to think, right? But when you spend time, virtually or otherwise, around people who, and you read material about things that are the ideas in which you'd like to have these, you want this perspective, you want to change your life for the better, you don't want to be miserable every day. This is the thing. This is what she was saying with fly washing. And I think the same applies here. When people get involved, I can't tell you how many people have come to me and said, because of your videos, your support groups, I know Lise gets the same thing, your coaching, whatever, I was able to get myself out of this, and I think that's so beautiful.
It is. I think people get a lot from that, more than I even give it credit in my own head. Does that make sense? Like, I'll hear it.
Really does.
Really? I guess that does work like that. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. And I'm always so happy with it. And I'll tell you, just on a personal note, every now and then I'll be having a bad day. And then I'll run into one of these messages from someone, and it just makes my whole day. I won't yell no. Anyway, yeah. So, but yeah, Lisa, I think that's really fun. Okay, you ready to jump in the chat? I see a few questions here. All right, let's start with Angie, who says, how do you break a trauma bond?
Ooh.
It's a good one. Tough one. Yeah. So it's the thing first of all, you have to want to, and you have to be willing to, in my opinion, and you have to be willing to do the work necessary. Yep. That sounds sounds very simple, but it isn't, because there'll be a logical part of you that desperately wants to. And then there will be another part of you that's like, I'm all right. Right. Because it's again, the wolf, thing, right? Mm-hmm. I have this one client who, absolute goddess of a woman, and she's far above, and she knows logically what she wants, but she struggles with her other side, that other part of her that's scared and that secretly, doesn't quite understand the logical side of her. Do you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. But she's doing the work, she's rocking it. But I'm just saying, this is one of those things that we all have probably struggled with. I like to say maybe it's kind of your inner child, or your, but that's not really the right. It is, but it isn't, because.
But it's also cognitive dissonance. That's
absolutely.
That's telling. So I tell people that it's their thinking brain fighting their emotional brain. So
basically, yeah.
Inside your head, there's those two parts, and your emotional brain isn't on board yet. It's not ready. It's not on board. It doesn't want to believe, because it's not. Right. Because of the way trauma bonds work. So that's a whole nother topic. So
whole other video.
Just understanding that that's going on when you're in it, and you're like, I must contact them. I have to. You can tell yourself in that moment, this is what cognitive dissonance feels like. Mm-hmm. And then find something to redirect, because. Right.
This is also what addiction feels like.
This is what feels like.
Yes.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Yeah. And so I tell people, in my case, I tell people, listen, so would you have a sip of alcohol if you were an alcoholic? Of course not. You know what I mean? You can't do that. Right. And so it's the same thing. And it affects the same part of the brain, right? So we're not going to dig into the trauma bonding thing too much, but I'm sure that one of our mod squatters, I think Jack, might be able to find our videos on that and paste them in for you. Mm-hmm. Yeah. But it is.
But one thing, no contact, that is the start. And if you can't because of
family or whatever,
children, kids, work, whatever, finances, then low contact is need to know only.
Yeah.
That means
if
you're
no
talking
emotion
about the kids, you're talking about the kid, the need of the child at the moment that is necessary. You're not talking about what the child did for fun, what they ate for breakfast, how cute they are. You're not sharing and bonding. You're sharing pertinent information, period. And that's it, right? And it's tricky, but that's the start to breaking.
That's right. That's really true. That's really smart and really true. And I think on the same topic, I was laughing because your puppies were making noises.
I know. I'm going to mute them and tell them to be quiet.
They're so cute. She has the cutest puppies. Okay. Anyway, whether they're called some kind of a shepherd, but anyway, what are they called? What are those puppies?
They're mini Australian shepherds, and they're
so cute.
They're not wanting to be outside, and there's a lawnmower going back and forth on the street, so they're like.
I hate when that happens.
I didn't. It's always like now.
I know.
After this, they'll lay and they'll nap. I'm like,
it'll be all
right.
Typical. Anyway, so I think bottom line, like Lisa said, with the trauma bond, and the other thing you can do is, of course, in the moment when you're having the urge, you can do a pattern interrupt, as Lisa mentioned earlier, where you just you stop, you change your perspective, you change your sort of, you know, I like to tell people, you know, you can go into a different room, you can stand up instead of sit down, you can try going for a walk, take a shower, brush your hair, brush your teeth, anything. And then in that moment when you break that pattern, you say to yourself, okay, now I'm going to focus on this instead. Anything that's not that, right? It'll keep your interest. And so I know we've both done videos. I know I've done videos on pattern up. I think you have. It's an NLP technique, super easy. Well, relatively speaking, it's not for resolving the problem, but it is for getting through the moment.
It's momentary relief.
Yeah.
Because see what happens when you're trauma bonded, and then I'll stop, is there's opioid receptors, right, in your brain that are, let's say, I'm just going to like give a visual that's totally non-scientific. They're like, say they're active, right? And they're being flooded. And so you're getting, you're full of this desire feeling. Okay. That's what is going on when you're having that desire feeling. Unmet resolution, meaning you don't get that sip of alcohol, you don't pull the slot machine, you don't see the narcissist, feels like pain. That's what their job is, to make you continue to do the thing. It's to help you. That's the purpose of them. Met, you see the narcissist, you pull the slot machine, you take a drink, boom, you feel better. It's and you're flooded with hormones. So understanding that that's going on means we need to find other ways to make ourselves interested in life. So that, does that make sense? So it's more
100%.
Direction, pattern interrupt, and then go, wait, I need a bigger picture. I need more things to be interested in.
Because this is all related to neuroplasticity. Yeah.
Right. And so we're teaching our brains, no, not that, over there instead.
Exactly. We're rerouting those messed up neural connections. Yeah. And it's a beautiful thing. And if you understand, this is why the duo method or whatever, because, you know, first you have to recognize the problem, discover, understand this is what we're talking about right here, and then overcome. So once you know you have a problem, this is why you have the problem, and here's the solution, right? But it doesn't go so fast in real life.
No, and it doesn't. And people always ask, how long is this going to be? It's individual. Don't judge yourself. Get help.
Some people.
Yeah.
I've seen a person, one woman decided, I'm going to recover. One of my clients, she was amazing. And she chose, I think for about a month, we had like 5 weekly sessions a month. I mean, no, hold on. Yeah. Every week. And then we went down to 1 a week for a while. We kind of went to 2 a week, I think. And then we went to 1 a week, and she ended up getting it all done within like.
It helps having someone have your back through this, who knows how to guide you through this process.
Really does.
That is capable. So here's the answer. There is no pat answer. No, that's why we coach, guys. Because if there was a pat answer, we could write a book and hand it to you, or we'd sprinkle our fairy dust down you and be done, and then be great, and everyone would feel good. But it is so individual, and everyone's path is different. Everyone processes differently. Everyone takes trauma in differently. So,
and what I have seen too, you're absolutely right. And what I would add to that is people will, they think, okay, I'm healed, I'm done, it's over. But it's not. It's just like that drug we talked about.
Yeah.
You're always going to be a survivor of that. Now you can also be a thriver. You don't have to tell the world you're a survivor, but you are always going to be a survivor of that. And so when you experience that, you always have to, watch yourself and make sure you're not falling for another one, whether it's personally or otherwise. Yeah.
Right. You have to do tune-ups in every part of your life all the time. And
it's hard.
It's hard.
Kicks your butt a little bit.
You're in good company, but it's hard.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Lisa and I have to check each other every now and then. We're like, it helps.
It
so
does.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And a lot of I think at least a few. So we have one of our groups that's just for people who are mostly already recovered, but they still want to, keep that's the Queen Being Bees group. And people have been recovered, but they stick around, and then every now and then they'll have a relapse, or they'll run into another one, and it'll just be very triggering for them. And, so it's just always good to, I think, maintain contact. That's why I always say, you don't have to stay in the groups. You don't have to do all the things, but keep my phone number in case you need me, keep in touch. Yeah. It just helps to remember and remind yourself. Yeah. All right. Wait a minute. Amber says poor health is a reason too. Yeah, we kind of talked about that. Yeah. Yeah. And it is. Now Miranda is saying that she lost, I think, her narcissist, and he died in a car accident. I'm really sorry, Miranda. That's a really rough Yeah. Do you have questions? I'm just going through the questions.
I'm looking through.
Okay.
I'm doing that thing where I'm trying to half listen and read.
Yeah, me too. All right. Jay says, our aging mother is what I'm going through. Yes, that is a rough one because you feel some kind of what's the word I'm looking for here? When your mother or your father or anybody who has abused you in your lifetime gets ill, you feel still responsible, right? And depending on which culture you're coming from and what the standard is there, I know some cultures have place higher value on parents, and others. I mean, I think we all do a little bit, right? Every culture, but at the same time, like you feel like a bad person if you walk away from somebody that you're related to who's old and helpless, and that's a tough call. So I've seen people working with a lot of different situations in that same vein, and what I've seen is sometimes there'll be a toxic sibling that takes over or that refuses to help, but is really the one who should be doing something depending on the circumstances. And then you've got situations where one sibling gives up their whole life to take care of an aging parent, and then they end up with nothing, or they do take care of the person because they want all the things. They have to get power of attorney, and they end up taking all the, it's just, what a mess. If you're an only child, I think it's even tougher, because then you don't have anybody to bounce things off of, right? But I know what I'm about to say is going to sound cruel and terrible, but I do not think that you are responsible for taking care of your abuser at any time. If you are financially responsible or otherwise for whatever reason, there's such a thing as a nursing home or a caregiver in the house that you can pay if you can. If not, Medicaid covers some stuff. I mean, depending on the circumstances. But personally, I don't think it's your own responsibility to handle someone who abused you at any point in your adult life. Lee's thoughts?
No, I agree. I agree with that 100%. And also, it's not an easy answer, because there's the emotional side, and there's the emotional, meaning there's the guilt and shame that's been placed on you, and then there's the society saying, but you should, and
right.
but no, they kind of threw away their parent card when they abused.
I mean, I totally agree. Yeah. That's why I'm always nice to my kids. I'm just kidding, but I really am. Whenever they're like, that's so nice, thanks. Can I do anything for you, Mom? I'm like, yeah, take care of me when I'm old. They laugh. But
this moment. Thank you.
Don't forget. So silly. I'm banking on it. Anyway, no, actually, I hope to be okay. Either way, I hope to be sane and physically well until the moment I die, which I have plans for not anytime soon. Okay. All right. Adrian says, and jump in anytime. I don't want to be interrupting you, by the way. I'm just going to read until Okay.
No, go ahead.
Here we go. All right. Adrian says, when you move in silence to get away, to have peace, they will go crazy because they can't find you at all when you don't tell them anything. Then they try to get everyone. Then they get everyone involved. Right. Exactly. Yeah. So, yeah, if they can't find you, they feel obsessed. Like if you just, move out, they're at work, they come home one day, you're gone, all your stuff's gone, or as much stuff as you can take in that amount of time. They don't know what to do. They will go crazy. They'll probably call the police. They'll probably call you. They'll probably call everybody they can, your mom, your dad, your brother, your sister, your boss, their own families, anything they can do to get you back into their control, right? And then if they don't get you back into their control, yes, they get everybody involved. And then they go to the next level. They start talking about, I just don't know. Everything seemed okay to me. And all of a sudden, I mean, she must have gone crazy, or he must have gone whatever, Any thoughts on that one?
No, I mean, yeah, that's exactly what they do.
Yep. Absolutely.
And there's no easy way to leave. There really isn't.
Right.
Yeah.
That's right. And there really isn't. But the easiest, I think, is, see, my problem is I'm too talky. I tell people things, and then I didn't with my mother, but I didn't even know. That's another story. With my ex, though, I stupidly told him like a week before I left. That was the dumbest choice, because then he became the perfect husband for that whole week.
Of course. Yeah. Then that could go either way. Perfect husband or stone cold silence that makes you feel like, yeah.
Like you want to, yeah.
Yeah. Either way, uncomfortable. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And so he was so then as I'm leaving, I'm literally crying my eyes out because I'm leaving. And I hugged him. It was this whole big, stupid, dramatic scene. I cried for a month afterward. Y'all, this person right here, I did not eat for 3 weeks. Me. Okay. Like, and what I'm saying is, it was probably one of the worst experiences of my life to do it the way I did it. But it's never, like Lee said, there's no easy way. If you tell them up front and they turn into perfect, great. But then you don't want to leave, right? You tell them up front, they act horrible, great. But then you really wish you hadn't told them. But
Right.
I think, right. I think when a violent person is involved, then you have to just sneak, wait till the moment that you know they're going, and then get as many people together as you can, even if you have to pay movers and get that
Right.
age
Yeah.
out, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And we can talk about how to leave in another thing, or you can watch any of the videos we've made on it. But yeah. Let's see here. I've only got just a few more minutes. Lisa, do you want to do you have a question for us?
I see a lot of chat back and forth, so I'm getting lost.
I know. All right, let's see what we've got here. Yeah, and Angie says there are so many mind games. Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed.
Here's an infamous June bug. It looks like a comment at least. I haven't read it through. We'll see. My ex cheated on me and is now with the rebound for 6 months now and won't let me see my son, but watches my stories on Facebook and Instagram. What do I do? I still love miss our family.
Okay, if that's your biological child, you have legal rights to be in that child's life. Number one. Number two, I think it's odd that your stories are being watched. I think it's proof of wanting to maintain a certain amount of control over you. I would most definitely speak to an attorney or someone who understands the laws in your state or your area. And I would find out what your rights are. You have legal rights. They can't just take your child. How old is your child? I would want to know that. I would have a lot of questions for you that I would want you to know the truth. I would want, not the truth, but your answers. And I'm not saying they wouldn't be the truth. I'm just saying I would need more facts to give you better advice. I do suggest, if you're not already in one of our groups, that you pop into one of our groups and check out, put your question there, because we have a legal expert on our team. Lise, do you have any thoughts?
I'm reading that last sentence. I still love her and miss our family. I would work on the grief, of allowing the grief that's going on there to process and talk to someone, if you can, about that piece, because what can happen is that's your door that's open. If she is narcissistic, and I'm assuming you're here, I'm assuming it's a she, you said she, yeah, her. If she is narcissistic, and I'm assuming that's why you're here, because you believe she is, then that right there is a crack in the door where she can push to get in, hoover you, twist it around, and then discard you again, or take from you more. And so that's the place where you can do your healing, so that you can be less affected by the situation and focus on what matters, which is time with your child. And
yes.
Yeah, and it's normal and natural to have those feelings. And so I would talk that part through with someone if you can.
I think that's really important. Yeah. So definitely take care of yourself. But I mean, look, here's the thing about kids, and this is so, I don't even know. I'm just going to say it. Okay. The thing is, 6 months is a long time for a 2-year-old or a 7-year-old, to number one, stay connected to you. And number two, it sounds like she's probably pretending someone else is the daddy at this point. And that infuriates me for you. For so many reasons, as a mother and a child, it infuriates me. And so I would just say, definitely take care of your heart, take care of your soul, yourself. I mean, your own issues here, but don't wait forever. I think she's giving enough attention to you somehow, maybe, that you've got hope that you will get back together.
That's probably what she's intending.
Yes, but she's not coming back. And if she does, she's not going to be nicer to you.
Right. And if you're here because of other things, not just the leaving, that stuff's not going to change.
No. And there are legal rights that you have. If your name isn't on the birth certificate, you can even compel her to do a DNA test. I mean, if that's your biological child. If it's not your biological child, well, then that's a whole other ball of wax. And unfortunately, you have more grieving to do.
She stalked me at my job and had flying monkeys ask me questions, and they went back and told her stuff I told them. Yeah. Protect yourself. Be careful who you talk to. Don't talk about her to people in your circle that know her.
Or
Because
anybody who you don't,
that is not like on like team you for healing, right?
Someone who you are sure about, right? Like,
right. Mm-hmm.
And I'm really sorry I'm going to say this, but it's true. You can't even count on your biological family necessarily unless you know for sure.
Because
right?
people don't realize that these people will word things in a way where it sounds like concern. So that then an actual concerned person will go and frantically try and get information to help the situation. But in fact, what they're doing is data mining and bringing it back to the toxic person. And
yes,
and that's not helpful to you. So as you're noticing. So yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay, let's see here. Do you want to do one more question each if you can find one? Okay. All right, let's see here. Okay. Jay say, this is another reason we do what we do. Jay says, it's so refreshing to be able to talk to people who understand instead of criticizing. This is part of the reason I started this channel, part of the reason I started writing about it a long time ago, because, and I'm sure Lisa has a similar reason, because we have both experienced trying to talk to people about what we're going through and being re-victimized by therapy or by friends, family members, etc., who are like, it's not that bad. That's a really nice guy, or that's a really, she's like practically a freaking angel, and that's not true. But you get to this point where you go, oh, okay, and you just stop talking, and then you just lose yourself, and then you get to the point, especially if you're still in the relationship, but even if you're not, where you forget how to talk about yourself, right?
Oh heck yeah!
It's a
you don't know who you are.
Yeah.
It's. I mean, that can happen if all you're doing is working and going home, eating dinner, going to bed, working, going home. You're going to forget that there's any life outside of that. It's the same thing, only more extreme, because you have the pressure of a toxic relationship on top of it, completely consuming your time and your energy and your attention. And like all of your emotional focus is going toward how bad you feel or working on that relationship. So yeah, you lose yourself.
100%. Yeah. Do you have any final questions you want to bring up?
Marcus said something, but I don't know if they can type quickly, then we can answer something. They need help.
Okay.
Never been so stuck between a rock and a hard place. Narcissism is one of the worst, most stressful, highly underrated dysfunctions out there. I was thinking about that exact statement this morning. You can read the diagnostic criteria. You can hear the terms. You can watch these videos. And if you have not experienced it, it is so hard to get it. It is so hard to see how destructive and dysfunctional it is unless you have the faith of trying to like communicate with one of these people. So I was exactly thinking about that. It's all I got, because I don't know what you're stuck between, except unless it's trying to get out. And then I would say watch the trauma bond videos, talk to someone if you need it.
Get into that group coaching program that Lise does, because I think even one of our support groups, right? But in that specific program, I think people will help you, Lise, and the group can help you see from a new perspective. And it's a really full support thing. Please, you want to talk about it real quick, how the group works?
It's we meet a couple times a week, and I'm right in the process of creating a men's group specific, and then a women's group just for safety, in emotional safety, and to be able to speak freely in a not mixed group, because there's things that get delicate and
people are triggered here and there.
People get triggered, people are afraid to speak. So it's kind of both. And I'm pretty good at hearing anything. So it's bring it.
Gifts.
Bring it.
Yes.
One of the many talents. But anyway, so anyway, we meet on Zoom. We meet for an hour a couple times a week, and talk. Everyone gets a chance to talk if they need it, and or listen. And
you go ahead. And your ongoing DM chat, I thought maybe.
Yes, and we have a message chat. Oh, it's over on Facebook right now. In the Messenger, it's private, and it's just for the group. to kind of continue with what you're working on or what you're struggling with, and get added support from peers within the group. And then I try to come in and help when I can. So that's that. Yeah.
Good. Okay.
And information somewhere on here and over on Queen Being. It's all over the place.
Yes.
Or you can email one of us and we'll get you the info.
Yes. I have one more question I want to answer really quick from Fatima. Hello, Fatima. She asks a really adorable question. She probably doesn't even know. Okay. But to me, it's adorable. She said, is it narcissistic if you are easily annoyed by little kids, at least the very loud and obnoxious ones? I think even as a mom of 3, the older my kids get, the more aware I am of those loud, obnoxious little kids. Mine were also those loud, obnoxious little kids, but mostly I didn't take them. One of them was really, really rough in public. But I only think it's a cute question because I've asked myself a similar question. I think as long as you're not doing anything to hurt anyone involved with the kids or the kids, it's probably okay. You're allowed to feel how you feel.
We don't have to have gushing, loving, heartfelt empathy for all human beings at all times, in every moment of our life. We're allowed to.
No, we're still humans.
And it's natural. It is empathic to feel, to read the room. And if the room is wild and crazy and no one's in control and Lord of the Flies is happening, then you're going to feel annoyed as an adult.
Right. Yeah. And even, another thing, sometimes non-parents feel more annoyed or sometimes, but here's what I want to point out. I was definitely less tolerant as a non-parent than I was as a parent. But something that I want to point out that's really important is a lot of times CPTSD causes us to feel horrified by loud noises.
Oh yeah.
I mean, we are lit. Yes. Oh, yeah. And other forms of neurodiversity, especially like ADHD for me a little bit, maybe, but I can't tell because also CPTSD, but I get jumpy. And if somebody makes a loud, sudden noise or shows up where I don't expect them to, like my husband walked into the bathroom when I was in the shower and I almost fell over and died after screaming and acting like a crazy person. And it was no big deal. It wasn't like he walked into the shower, just into the general area.
No, it was what?
I didn't expect him. I had the music going, So my point is, we become jumpy because of CPTSD. Loud noises may or may not, depending on how it affects you, bother you. Sudden loud noises bother me a lot. Excessive loud noise bothers me a lot. So I don't think you're a narcissist for feeling that way. All right. At least anything else before we wrap up today?
No, not at all. Yeah.
Okay. Oh, what? Okay, wait, let's just do one last one. How do you know if you are not the narcissist? Okay, listen. Do you care how people feel? Do you act on from that perspective? Do you act from the point of empathy, or do you act from the point of selfishness at all times? And also go take the quiz at queenbee.com/quizzes. We have all kinds of, there's one there, am I the narcissist? Take that one. And I'm sure you'll see that you're not. All right.
I already know she's not, so.
I'm pretty sure myself, but I know you know better than me. All right. All right, everybody. Thank you so much for being here. Take a look at what somebody's going to put in the chat if she hasn't already started with our next information. Lisa, when's your next session live over on?
I'm hoping to,
on your channel.
I'm hoping tomorrow. It might be Thursday because it's one of those weeks, but.
Okay, understood. All right. So keep your eye out for Lisa's text and or notification from her channel. And I think we got to go. All right.
Yep.
I'll see everybody next week. And we're also going to try to get those reminders put into our description following today. So that will help a little bit as well. Thanks, everybody. Have a wonderful week. Lisa, you're amazing. Thank you again. And thank you to our Mod Squad and members. Have a